All right, guys, welcome back to another podcast on MMAUnhinged, and I've got the wrong screen on. I mean, we haven't been here for a long while, so we might be sloppy. But yes, welcome back to another podcast on MMAUnhinged today. And once again, joined by Oscar Silva all over in America, and we're here to talk about UFC Vegas 54 and UFC Vegas 55. It's a fantastic episode. We've got to talk about some fights once again. I'm very happy. And Oscar, how are you over there?
Yeah, while there's no UFC fights this Saturday, we can reminisce over what we witnessed the last 2 weeks. Unfortunately, there was some scheduling conflicts. The show couldn't turn out. I don't like doing solo episodes because this duo is just too good. I feel like we're giving you guys a diminished product with just me being the solo host. So we had to wait, and we're here. I'm very excited for this episode. We're going to talk UFC Vegas 54, Blachowicz versus Rakic, and we're going to talk UFC Vegas 55, Holm versus Vianna. Two controversial endings to UFC main events, so a lot of talking points here.
Exactly. As you said there, I was away for a few weeks. So I covered over in Bellator. I was away for the whole week for that. It was a fantastic, very good experience to get over there and experience it once again. Talk to the fighters, see some familiar faces, and then obviously the main event, controversial. As you talked about, we had a lot of controversy. The last few weeks of MMA. So it's good to discuss it because when there's controversy, it brings up talking points, and that's what we're here for. So Bellator. Then I went on holiday. That was a bit of an impulsive one. I ended up in Ibiza. I was in Spain. I had a great time. And then now we're here. We're back again, and we're back on the road. We're back on the train, and we're here to talk about, as you said, our UFC Vegas 54 and UFC Vegas 55. So let's get it underway at the top of the hour, where we talk about Blachowicz versus Rakic. Oscar Silva, the show is yours.
Okay, so in the main event, Jan Blachowicz won via doctor stoppage or via TKO entry in the third round. This was a very competitive fight all the way through. Jan Blachowicz came in as the underdog, and I did not agree with it. We did not do a preview show for this one, but I had picked Jan Blachowicz. I thought he was being disrespected the whole week. Everybody just thought Rakic was going to step over him on his way to the main event scene, and that's just wasn't the reality in this fight. Jan Blachowicz was not the guy that showed up against Glover Teixeira, the guy that gassed out after a round and quit to a rear naked choke that was in for like a half second. So this was a much more hungry Jan Blachowicz, and he showed it out there. The first one was very competitive. He was destroying Rakic's leg with those leg kicks over and over again. I was watching it with a friend, and I said, these guys cannot take that many leg kicks. They're big boys. Those legs will crumble eventually. And they did. But nonetheless, I did think Jan Blachowicz's body shot hook combo really was doing work for him in the first round. And that's why I gave him that first round. And in the second round, we saw the kind of game plan Rakic used against Anthony Smith. He got a takedown, and he just did not advance his position. All Rakic likes to do is just land it like simple little ground and pound. He doesn't posture up and look to damage. He just wants to point fight. But he's that physically strong and that good to where he can just lay on top of the guy. The guy can't really get up. And he wins the round like that. So it's a very dominant round for Rakic in round two. In the third round, before it really ever got going, Jan Blachowicz lands some nasty leg kicks. And Rakic's ACL tears, and the fight is over. It was pretty upsetting to see that, especially since the fight was pretty good, pretty exciting. I'm not entirely sure who would have won that fight had there not been the injury, but those leg kicks, injury or no injury, were beating up Rakic's leg, just like they were when he fought Volkan Oezdemir. I'm sure Jan Blachowicz started that fight, so either way, Jan Blachowicz really earned that victory, and he proved the doubters wrong at 40 years of age, I believe now.
100%. And as you talked about, former UFC champion, first fight since losing his belt, and it showed his hunger. He came in good shape, and against Rakic as well, up and coming contender, and setting him back. I mean, he's been on a good run as of late. I just remember, Rakic. When I think of Rakic, is that highlight reel knockout against Jimmy Manuel. It lives in my head rent free.
Yeah, that you also think the spinning back fist against Devin Clark, Rakic. He can be an exciting fighter if he wants to, but now that he's fighting the high level guys, he has to fight safer style, but I'm not entirely sure if you can win a championship like that when you got like guys
And
like
then
Yuri
did,
Prohaska in
did,
the mix.
since that loss, I can't remember who it was against. It might be against was it Uzdemir?
Volkan Oezdemir. Yeah, Volkan.
Yeah, he sort of slowed down and was more technical, and I feel like maybe we're seeing not calmer, but I'm not sure. Maybe we're seeing the repercussions of him being more technical and slowing down a little bit, less
Yeah,
explosive.
yeah, that might be true because I do think he could have beaten Volkan that night if he actually tried to grapple him, but he just went out there to kickbox and he lost that. So yeah, Rocket is fighting a little smarter these days, but not as exciting. But nonetheless, he's still had an exciting first round.
And there's someone who's always an exciting fight, and that's Iron Kutalaba. And but yet again, didn't go his way. And Ryan Spann used his grappling to get it done. And I think that was not the way I really saw him getting it done in this one.
I thought Iwan Kutalaba was gonna steamroll Ryan Spann. To be honest, Ryan Spann looked pretty awful against Anthony Smith. He just I feel like he quit in there on that night, and of course he got tapped out. Iwan Kutalaba is a monster in the first round. I just knew that somebody was going to get finished in this first round. We know Ryan Spann has the big power. He almost knocked out Johnny Walker before, knocked out Lil Nog out there once in Brazil. And we know that his grappling is very serviceable. Back in the day, he used to love using that guillotine, and we have not seen a lot of it since then. But he got permission from his coaches to go for the guillotine, and he got it here against Iwan Kutalaba. Very impressed with Superman Ryan Spann, because Iwan Kutalaba is a hard guy to put away. The guy's tough as nails, but he did it. He said he needs to get his mental game right after this. I don't know what he was doing for like the past 8 months or so if he wasn't getting his mental game right. Ryan Spann is not that great at dealing with losses. So for him to get a win, it does do good for his confidence. I think confident Ryan Spann is a dangerous one.
Yeah, and I've got to agree with one of our fans in the chat. Are you intoxicated? Back again. I think I remember him off the last show. So thanks for tuning back in, coming in again. Reoccurring fans, it's always good to have them. But I do agree with some of what you're saying. You know, IQ Talaba, maybe the IQ. He's not the smartest. As we talked about in that first round, he's dangerous. He seems like he just tries to put everything into it, and I think the last few fights, obviously, it hasn't turned out great for him. The Magomed Ankalaev, that loss, obviously, there's no shame. And that Magomed Ankalaev is probably going to be a future champion in the division. And then again,
Yeah.
Ryan Spann, I just feel like he came out too hot and just got caught in that guillotine. But what's that? 2 losses back to back now for him?
Yeah, I believe so. Who was his last fight? I can't think of his. No, his last fight he beat Devin Clark. He beat Devin Clark by decision in his last one.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Kutalaba, I feel like in this fight he really should have respected that guillotine from Ryan Spann, because Ryan Spann has won a lot of fights with the guillotine. So if had it not been for that, I do think he could have knocked him out, but we'll never know. Ryan Spann, I think he's now lined himself up for a guy that needs to build their way to the top 10. I don't think Ryan Spann is consistent enough to like get a top 10 opponent after this one.
100%, I do agree. And you were talking about knockout power, and there's one way to talk about knockout power, and that's Davey Grant. He's got knockout power, and he showed it once again against Lewis Smoker, and knocking him out in the 3rd round. Was you impressed?
I was super impressed by Davey Grant. Davey Grant fights like a madman in there. He's almost gotten the reputation for me as like a bantamweight Justin Gaethje. The guy just doesn't care. He throws with everything in there, and more often than not these days, he's putting these guys away. David Grant in the first round was wrecking Luis Smoka. Luis Smoka in the second round, he started getting more of a rhythm in there, and he was having some success, but Dave Grant still landing the bigger shots. But in that 3rd round, those leg kicks that Dave Grant was landing occasionally, they were hurting Luis, and he got folded by one, and you saw the power on display of Davey Grant. He went for that ground and pound and put him out cold. Davey Grant is super exciting to watch. This was one of many knockouts that he's gotten. And it's so weird that this guy only now, late in his career, started, chasing those knockouts, because I feel like maybe if he really got more confidence in his power earlier, he could have had even more success.
Yeah, and I believe, if I'm correct in saying, he didn't even get a bonus this night. So
Yeah, that was the fight of the night in my book. I thought it was the fight of the night.
yeah, 100%, I do agree. And yeah, as you talk about David Grant, you're really showing every time he's in a fight, no matter who it is, he always makes it to seem like a little bit of a dogfight, makes it entertaining for the fans. And you got to give credit to Davey. He's always in a fantastic fight. He had a competitive. I know he was losing, but it seemed like it was competitive against Mon Chiavera, who was always in the fight. He was just a little bit, a little bit back. And just Chiavera was just a little bit too much for him that night, but he just made it look competitive. But yeah, David Grant gets back into the win column, gets Lewis Smoker, and it was a fantastic win. As you talked about, his knockout power, showing in the round 3 once again. As you talked about, he's getting older, but it seems like he's still there whereabouts. But Kaitlyn Chookagian won a split decision versus Amanda Ribas. Is that a scorecard that you agreed with?
So I thought this was a super close fight, but I did slightly score for Kaitlyn, maybe because I had money on her. Kaitlyn was, I feel like she underperformed in this fight. She was a big favorite, and she didn't look like it. She kept on getting taken down to the ground with those judo throws, and she was stuck there for a while. And if you're somebody that's trying to fight Valentina Shevchenko and strawweight is doing that to you, you should rethink your future plans. I don't think Kaitlyn is anywhere near for Valentina. Man, he looked fantastic out there. Really good. She was able to drag Kaitlyn Chookagian into her type of fight, more of a brawl. Kaitlyn usually keeps it technical. She did not keep it super technical this time around. She really was sitting down on her punches, looking to hurt Hebus, and I think she did hurt her a couple times. And the first one was very close, as I said, but I did give more damage to Kaitlyn. Second round was pretty dominant by Hebus. But in that third round, my goodness, the last minute was wild. They just let out their warrior cries, and they fought as hard as they could in there. And that's probably why they got the fight of the night bonus that last minute of the fight. That was really exciting. But at the end of the day, Kaitlyn Chookagian did enough, in my opinion, to win. But she's not ready for Valentina. In fact, I hear the UFC is going to want to have her fight Manon Fiorot in UFC Paris on September 3rd.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Kaitlyn Chookagian. She seems to be like a needle in like a bush. She keeps defeating these prospects in these flyweight divisions. Amanda Ribas now falls into the hands of Kaitlyn Chookagian. Now, as you talked about, she might fight Mana Florite. So I'm not too sure. The UFC, you know what they are like with these girls. They don't really like these type of fighters to keep defeating their prospects. So, I mean, if Kaitlyn Chookagian defeats Mana Florite, where does she go from here?
I got no clue. I feel like she's 3 fights away from fighting for the belt. So you got Miesha Tate versus Lauren Murphy coming up for Miesha, which she'll get a title shot at that. And we also got Alexa Grasso in the mix. We also got, who else? Viviana Russo in the mix. There's a lot of like fresh faces for Valentina. Why would they even consider Kaitlyn? It's not like Kaitlyn's brings in any numbers. So yeah, she's far away.
100%, I do agree.
Feel
And then
bad for her, but good fight against Hughes.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Amanda Ribas is going to definitely get back to the drawing board. But someone who's had a fantastic debut, that was Miguel Torres, putting away Frank Camacho in then 1 round. Wow, this guy's got hands.
Yeah, Manuel, you mean Manuel?
Oh, Manuel, yeah,
good boxer. In the contender series, he got himself a quick finish. And I thought Camacho was too much of a step up. Camacho has had competitive striking battles with Drew Dober and Jeff Neal. So when I saw this put together, I thought Camacho was going to be able to knock him out. But Camacho is just very bad defensively. I'll say the truth. He's gotten knocked out brutally in the past. He can't take the shots like he used to, and Torres was landing the majority of his strikes, and they were hurting Camacho more than Camacho was hurting Torres. So eventually, Camacho went down, and yeah, it was waved off that simple. Are you intoxicated? In chat says Miguel. It's Manuel. Make sure to remember his name after this finish. Manuel Torres, I do think he still needs a lot of work. This was just somewhat of a favorite matchup he had here. yeah, there's work to be had, but still really impressive to put away uh, Frank Camacho quicker than Drew Dober was able to.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm Drew Dober, as you talked about putting away Frank Camacho. Frank Camacho had been putting out as of late. Maybe his UFC run has probably came to an end, but it's a
I would
fantastic
believe so.
debut.
Yeah, I would believe so.
Yeah. I mean, there's a knockout that lives in my head. I can't remember who it was. It might have been another debut, and Frank Camacho got knocked out. Was it
Uh, Jeff Neal.
Jeff? Was it Karma Worthy as well?
I don't remember him fighting Worthy. I know that Jeff Neal one was brutal. It
Was it?
was a head kick.
It wasn't too long ago. I'll quickly give that search, but yeah, it was a fantastic
Was it
debut.
Justin James? Justin James
There you
knocked
go,
him out.
Justin James. How did I get Karma Worthy? I'm not sure, but yeah, Justin James. Yeah, that was his debut. He stepped in Sean Nelson, knocked him out. So
Yep.
I presume this is the end for Frank Camacho inside the UFC. But Torres has got himself inside, and he's got some hands, and he put it on the show. It's a fantastic fight. A good prospect, another good prospect in that lightweight division. So I'm excited. And Jake Hadley was a flyweight prospect heading into this fight, and he still is. He's still a flyweight prospect, but I just feel like he just made to realize that there are levels in this game. And Alex Nascimento is an incredible fighter, and the UFC did Jake no favors of giving him in his debut.
Yeah, Alan Nascimento was 0-2, so that's how the matchmakers could justify matching these two up because Nascimento was 0-2. Nascimento is a guy that I see going on I see him having like a 7-4 record in the UFC in a couple fights. The guy's really good, very good. One of Charles Oliveira's main training partners. Fantastic jiu-jitsu. In his UFC debut, he had a competitive fight with Taguero Lembeka, putting him in a lot of submission attempts. And then he fought who was it? That was just his UFC debut. Never mind. He fought Jake Hadley here, and Jake Hadley. I thought Jake Hadley was gonna win this. I kind of was buying the hype on him. But at the end of the day, Nascimento is probably physically stronger, more experienced, and he took Hadley to the ground. Hadley really wasn't able to get up and on the feet. Hadley really wasn't landing anything that mattered. This was just a really good 30-27 performance by Nascimento. And I think this guy will be a mainstay in this flyweight division. He's just so threatening on the ground and very slick, man. When you got Taguero Lembeka almost tapping out, this guy's legit. He maybe the matchmakers had it out for Jake Hadley because they did not want him signed. Remember, he missed weight on Contender Series, and Dana never gives the guy a contract after they lose weight. He gave it to Jake because he thought Jake was special, and I don't think Jake was as special as he thought maybe here. And the matchmakers probably wanted to see Jake lose just so they could say, I told you so to Dana. And they get him a guy in Nascimento who had not won in the UFC. But, yeah, Nascimento is just way better than some people might perceive.
Yeah, 100%. I do agree. I think there's still obviously a massive future for Jake Hadley. But and Nascimento, as you were talking about, his UFC debut, he's telling me Ulanbekov put him in good positions, but it just didn't go his way that night. And then, as we talked about, he's a good fighter. But I think there's definitely levels, and obviously I feel like this is gonna be a good thing for Jake Hadley. He's gonna realize this, and he's gonna go back to the drawing board, work on some things, and I think he's gonna come back a much better fighter, a much better of himself. And it's unlucky for Jake Hadley on his UFC debut. He hyped up a lot, but there's still a lot more to come from him. I feel like we're definitely going to see that. But yeah, a great performance from Nascimento. But yeah, we move on to the prelims. As you talked about Viviana Russo earlier on, she got it done against Andrea Lee. Was that a good performance? Would you impress?
So it is crazy that this fight was not on the main card. This is two ranked women in the top 10 of the flyweight division. They're probably like a couple fights away from a title shot. And this fight really showed why it should be on the main card. It was a very exciting fight. I would say it maybe the most exciting, like one of the most exciting women's fights I can recall in recent memory. Viviana Russo in the first round got wrecked. She almost got put away by Andrea Lee with a head kick, I believe it was. and I thought Andrea Lee was about to knock her out, which is very rare for Andrea Lee. So Andrea Lee was looking very good early. But Viviana Russo, as I predicted her to do, she came in as an underdog. I didn't understand it because she's got a clear grappling advantage. And she took down Andrea Lee to survive the rest of the first round. And in the second round, another takedown takes her back. Here's the big knock on Viviana Russo. I've admitted this. Arusho's gas tank lets her down. Like in the second half of the second round, and that's why it's tough to pick her or better at times. But when you're that dominant on the ground against somebody like Andrea Lee, your gas tank doesn't get depleted that much, especially when you tuck her back and you're not letting her breathe right. Andrea Lee was more tired than Viviana Russo after the second round, dominant second round for Russo. And then the third round was more of the same. Takedown, stayed on top and won the fight that way. Uh, it wouldn't have been crazy if this fight got scored a draw just because of the damage that Lee had done in that first round. But nonetheless, I'm very impressed with Arusha's heart, man. She got put in some really awful spots early in the fight. But she did what I expected her to do. She got the takedowns in the control time and secured the decision win. And what's pretty wild is Lee had gotten out grappled by Roxanne Modafferi, and Araujo out grappled Roxanne Modafferi when they fought. So I thought it was really disrespectful to Araujo to see her as an underdog.
100%. I feel like this is a great fight, as you talked about, putting herself up in the mix there with Viviana Russo and defeating, Andrea Lee. As you talked about, probably should have been on the main card, and I do agree with that. As you talked about, top 10 flyweights going at it, and I feel like they got disrespected a little bit. But it was a fantastic fight, and if you watched it, you probably weren't disappointed. And I feel like the prelims were a really good way to start off the card.
Absolutely, I really liked the prelims. I will say I do think the next fight for Viviana Russo should be Alexa Grasso. They're basically in the same spot right now, and I think that would be a close fight, and the winner really could get a title shot or be a fight away.
100%, I do agree. And then we'll move on to the returning, finally, Michael Johnson and knocking out Alan Patrick in round number 2. It was a fantastic way to return.
Alan Patrick, I thought he would win this fight just because I've picked Michael Johnson so many times, and the guy looks good early, but it just doesn't work out in the end. The guy always makes the mistake, or he tires out, or whatever happens. I actually thought he won the Stevie Ray fight, so I'm not gonna nag on him that bad for that run. But Michael Johnson, I don't know what happened, man. He beat Edson Barbosa and Dustin Poirier back in the day. And now he couldn't beat
Knocked out Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, Dustin Poirier was the last time he knocked a guy out before this. It's been how many years? 6 years since he's knocked a guy out, and he did it to Alan Patrick. Alan Patrick has got really poor fight IQ, man. The guy fights like a madman, constant explosive strikes that tend to not land. But I will say, he won that first round. He rocked Michael Johnson twice. Michael Johnson rocked him once, but I thought Patrick did more damage. I thought Patrick would actually go to wrestle more, but it got defended by Michael Johnson often. So credit to Michael Johnson for fighting a much better game plan than he has in previous fights. But I still think that the guy's just nowhere near the form he once was. When you're getting rocked by Patrick, who's not that great of a striker, it's a warning sign. I think you should match make Michael Johnson in like fun fights at this point. I'd hate to see him fed to a young lion right now because I don't think he does well. But Michael Johnson is a guy you want to keep around because nobody's fought like tougher competition than him, and he could be a good test for like not young killers, but like young guys that are like, I would say not underdeveloped, but unproven. They could prove themselves against Michael Johnson. So very happy to see him get a win. He's a guy that just I feel like he might be one of those guys that does well in the gym, but on fight night he's just not the same beast. So good to see him get the KO here, really brutal KO it's weird that he didn't get a finish. He didn't get a bonus.
Yeah, 100%. It was just good to see Michael Johnson back in, a cage and throwing hands again. He'd been away, as you talked about, away for a long while, and it's good to see him get it done. As you talked about, the first round was very tricky, but it was exciting.
You're a little static on my end.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of static from you too. I'm not too sure. These 2 secs. There you go. I can't hear the static now. I'll unmute the mute you so when you speak. But yeah, I feel like we're good now. But yeah, it was good to see Michael Johnson get back to his ways, throwing bombs again and getting the knockout win. But yeah, let's move on to Viv. These type of names. I'm not very good with them, but I know Oscar is very good with them. Vianna Janaroba against Angela Hill. Virgin just use her grappling. 7 minutes and 4 seconds of control time. Striking, the ground and pound. It worked. We knew where Angela Hill was. We knew where Viviana Russo would need to take this fight for her to win it, and that was to the ground, and that's what she did. Angela Hill has struggled, with grapplers in the past, and these type of fights. This is where Angela Hill. This is where you see her losing. In the last few fights, they've seen her in close split decisions where arguably could have went her way. But I feel like this was definitely left no doubt in my mind that the judge definitely got this one right. Vianna, put in a fantastic performance. Striking was good. The grappling was even better. And as I talked about, the grappling is where Vianna was going to take this fight, and that's where she needed to take the fight to win, and she did.
So I thought this was going to be a quick submission victory for Viviana Russo. But Angela Hill has improved tremendously in terms of submission defense. She got submitted by Randa Marcos with an armbar, and Randa Marcos is nowhere near the jiu-jitsu player that Viviana Russo is. So very impressed by Hill's submission defense here, but nonetheless, very dominant by Russo. I thought that Hill would hurt her at least once on the feet. She did not. Russo, really good performance here, constantly chasing a submission, but Hill was just too good defensively in there. But very impressed by Russo. I think Tisha Torres is definitely the fight to make for Russo.
100%, I do agree. I was talking about before. You left it. For Vianna had to take this fight to the ground and the grappling to win this fight, and that's what she did. But the striking, the grappling, and she mixed up really well. And Angela Hill just didn't seem to get grasp of the fight, and Vianna just looked like a different level.
Yeah, that was just as simple as it was. Hill is now in a really, really tough spot because she's lost a lot of split decisions, and this one did not go away once again. The next one was the debut of the Japanese Super Bowl, I believe they're calling him, Tatsuro Taira, and he fought Carlos Candelario. I was not overly impressed by Taira because he had fought, sketchy competition outside of the UFC, but he proved himself to me in this fight. On the feet, he was looking good, man. He was much more precise than Candelario, and once he scored that knockdown and took the back, I thought it was over, but Candelario was tough as nails, man. He stayed in there. I scored, what was it? I think I scored like 2 10-8 rounds in this fight. I thought Taira was super dominant once he got the knockdown. Candelario never fully recovered. Taira was very aggressive in this fight, and it really paid off in him getting the decision.
100%. It was a fantastic debut, one that we've been waiting for a little bit longer because the cancelled fight, but we didn't have to wait too long. Fortunately, it was 2 weeks after it got cancelled. So thank God for that. But yeah, it was a fantastic debut. Definitely one that paid up, lived up to the hype sort of thing. So it was a fantastic debut. I'm excited to see what happens next. It was good for him, and I feel like they can invest in that market a little bit with him. I feel like the Japanese market, the Asian market, it will work well, and I feel like they've definitely got a star on their hands that they can create out of that in the flyweight division as well. And the flyweight division is not very packed, so he could make his way to title contention, maybe top 5 contention really quick. So it's a really good market tool they could use over there in Asia and Japan. So it'd be interesting to see how they handle that one. But the first fight of the evening, Andre Petrowski went in there and did his thing in round 1. That was probably the last outcome that I saw against Nick Makimov, who is a fantastic grappler, and he submits him.
Yeah, Nick Makimov is a really good grappler. He's competed in Chael Sonnen submission underground before and not gotten submitted. So I don't think Petrosky was going to do to him here. In fact, I thought Maximov was going to take over after round two. I mean, after round one, because Petrosky is a guy that, even though he is effective late in fight, he does slow down. And I thought Maximov had the perfect style to wear out Petrosky, but it didn't matter because Petrosky got on that neck early in a scramble, and he slapped on his favorite submission, the Anaconda choke, and he put Maximov out. This was the last thing I expected. It was like a minute 17 into the fight, and Maximov was out. Maximov was undefeated before this. So Petrosky getting the submission was very impressive. Biggest underdog on the card. A lot of people were picking Petrosky. They said they saw value on the underdog, and I said absolutely not. I thought this guy was gonna uh, not be able to have a whole ton of success against Maximov, but boy, I was wrong. Petrosky's on a great run right now.
I just
All right,
accidentally removed,
yes.
I accidentally removed myself from the StreamYard. Well, sorry about that. But yes, I was trying to do that. That's what I was trying to do. Anyway, but yeah, Petrosky come off the tough 29, and we could possibly touch up on tough 30. I don't know whether you've been watching it.
Yeah, I have. I've not seen the episode that was released today though.
Yeah, I have not either. We could talk about Muhammad Usman versus I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Mitchell C.
There we go. I thought it was a good showing for Muhammad Usman. I thought it was good. I mean, the other guy, I can't, as I said, I can't remember his name. A lot of talking. He looks like a proper character. So
yeah, I'll just say this right now. I was not impressed at all by either guy. I thought Michelle C was fighting like an idiot. The guy was not definitively winning, and he was taunting the guy like he was already winning the fight. Muhammad Usman,
and then Usman, I felt got clipped a little bit.
Oh yeah, he definitely lost that first round. I scored the fight for Seep. In fact, I thought he maybe did a little more. I thought Usman was very gun shy. The guy, I don't know, man. He said the fight game is mostly mental, and the guy just didn't look very confident in there. Very low output. I can't say I'm overly excited to see this guy compete in the UFC, or say that he's UFC caliber. This guy is very gun shy, and he's already gotten knocked out in the PFL before. I still think he needs developing, man. And that's just the truth. He was a guy that I thought maybe could have won the show just because I thought the other guys weren't all that special, but I think this guy won't go very far.
Yeah, 100%. And that was in the third episode, or I believe. In the second episode, we had Kaitlyn Neal versus Helen Partiella. Peralta. There we go.
So that fight was another fight where I thought the judges got it wrong again. I thought Helen Peralta was super aggressive in the fight. She's a bare knuckle fighter, so she had the striking advantage. We saw Kaitlyn O'Neal have that Kaitlyn Shukagan game plan to stick and move, and I didn't think she was doing a ton of damage, but I did think Helen was doing damage. They on the show they kind of penned it as like a grappler versus striker fight. We saw like no grappling for Kaitlyn, which I thought was really, really I don't know, foolish on her part. But nonetheless, I do think Kaitlyn could have some decent success in the UFC. Helen, on the other hand, not too sure with the grappling deficiencies. But I will say she did destroy Cheyenne Bays when she fought her. So Cheyenne Vlismas when she fought her. So we could see her in the UFC. Maybe they sign her, but yeah, we'll see what happens with these characters. I am very interested in the show. I would say actually like this cast of characters more than the Tough 29.
Yeah, and Helen was Pena's number one pick actually, and she gets knocked out in the first round. So that was interesting. Kaitlyn Neal, as you said, yeah, and beating Helen, and knocking out their number one pick. And in the first round, it was Zach Praga versus Niall Bartling.
Yeah, so that one was a really good showing for Pauga. Zach Pauga is one of Curtis Blades' training partners. Out of Elevation Fight Team. The guy's really well rounded. He's not a heavyweight though. Don't get that wrong. The guy actually fought a lot at light heavyweight, but That's what a lot of people do on the show. They go up a weight class just so they don't have to cut weight constantly. That's what he did, and he looked good against undefeated Niall Bartling. He stuffed the takedowns, and on the feet he was way better. And on the ground he kind of had his way, with him. Niall, not that impressive, very limited. So it was a solid win for Palga. I think the guy will win the season.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I was literally about to say he's one of my favorites. Either Niall, no, sorry, either Palga or who's the guy with the bleach hair? Is it Eduardo Perez?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's also the one I kept my eye on. But yeah, I do think Palga is a fantastic fighter. A fantastic showing on the first episode. Anyway, top 30. Next episode tonight, as you were talking about. So that'll be interesting to watch. But yes, now should we move on to the next fight night?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's stop that. All right, let's get it up. Sharing screen. Holm versus Vieira. Here we go. So Oscar, take it away. I know we've been talking about it before we went on air. The scorecards, it was an interesting one. A lot of people, went back and forth on it on Twitter, on Instagram. They talked about it a lot. What are your thoughts ultimately on the scorecards and the fight itself?
So I'm gonna start this by saying this was not a robbery. I scored it for Holly Holm. I scored it 48-47 Holly Holm, but Vieira was the one being, more aggressive in this fight. The first round was a clear Holly Holm round. She got a lot of clinch control time. But the second round was very tough for her. She almost got choked out standing. I thought the fight was over. I saw the same look on her face that I saw when she got choked out by Miesha Tate in her title fight. But against Kaitlyn Vieira, she was the physically stronger fighter. But Vieira was not fighting all that smart, I'll say. Her coaches were very mad at her. I feel like she maybe could have won the fight decisively had she fought different, but that wasn't the case. Holly actually fought her kind of fight offensively, but Holly's a little older. When she's going out of her blitzes, her head was still on the center line, and she got clipped multiple times. And that's how I see the judges gave the fight to Vieira. I don't think it was a crazy decision looking back at it. In the moment, I was screaming robbery, man. I was so mad because Holly Holm was my most confident pick of the night. I thought she was going to piece her up, but Vieira looks better every time I see her out there.
100%, and the striking, I feel like we've got a top up on Vieira. It's definitely getting much better. And, a few fights ago, she got knocked out against
Irene Aldana.
Oh, there we go, Irene Aldana. Now she's looking good against a kickboxing, boxing world champion in Holly Holm, and she's holding her own on the feet. It just shows, the evolution and how far she came. And it was a good win. I do agree. I think that the Vieira was the correct decision. Yes, Holly Holm threw more, but if you look at the Rob Font versus Marlon Chita Vera, Rob Font threw maybe almost twice as much as Rob Vieira, but he didn't win the fight. He just didn't look like he win the fight. You can see at the end of the store, end of the cards, end of the fight. I mean, he didn't win the fight, but what we get with Holm is she's got volume. She just doesn't have that necessary power to put that damage on someone. And Vieira, I think, showed that she has that damage, she has that power. And she has that volume as well. So her striking is getting much better. It was a good performance. But yeah, I'm not too. I don't know why there was a lot of controversy, a lot of people on the scorecards. I thought it was the correct decision.
I thought they were probably just Holly Holm fans like me. I thought she did do enough to win. And like people like Michelle Watterson, who's her teammate, was outraged. And one thing that people always mess up doing is showing the stats for the whole fight, like as you see right here. These fights are not scored as a whole. They're scored round per round. So the stats for the whole fight are kind of irrelevant. So I'll just start by saying that Vieira, a lot of people did not give Vieira the fifth round. I gave Vieira the fifth round. Sure, she got control against the cage a lot in that fight. She did get outstruck. But at the beginning of the round, she hit Holly with a spinning back elbow from hell, man. And that did more damage than anything Holly did in that fifth round. The fourth round was also a very close round. A lot of people saw it even heading into the fifth. I actually thought Holly was ahead, so I did score it for Holly. Ari Tuxian says Holm has pillow hands. I don't think she has pillow hands. She was a very successful boxer. The thing with Holly is she's a point fighter. It's just that simple. Unless her opponent creates openings for her to knock her out with a head kick, she will be happy to fight to a decision. And I don't know if she should be that happy to fight to a decision after getting screwed like this. And for this fight to bring out the big, judging topic amongst fans, I think it's pretty wild because I've seen like 100 worse decisions than this. A lot of people thought it was one of the worst robberies of all time. I'm not one of those people. Excuse the hiccups, people in the chat.
Yeah, it's good. Hopefully you don't have any hiccups to this next fight because it was a fantastic fight to talk about.
All right. The co-main event featured Santiago Ponzinibbio against Marcel Pereira. I picked Ponzinibbio as the underdog, and I thought he fought a good fight, but it took him a while to get going. In the first round, Ponzinibbio was unable to really land anything of significance. Michel Pereira, his movement is so much better than it used to be. He used to just be happy to engage, but now he's much more better defensively, and it's paying off. And now he just took his spot as number 14 in the welterweight rankings. So Michel Pereira, ever since he adjusted his style after the what was it?
Tristan Connolly.
Tristan Connolly still fought like a man-to-man against Diego Sanchez, but he lost that fight. He did not lose that fight. It was a DQ, but whatever. Since then, he's on a 5-fight winning streak, second longest win streak in the whole division behind the champion Kamaru Usman. So he's doing something right, man. He's doing something right. And this was the fight of the night for a reason. The third round was obviously very reminiscent of Ponzinibbio versus Baeza. Those guys just met in the middle and they swung leather. And I did think Ponzinibbio got the better of that exchange, but it was too little too late. Michel Pereira clearly won.
Yeah, 100%. We'll let you go get some water. I can hear the hiccups. But yeah, as you said, a fantastic fight. Ponzinibbio, recently, before, coming back against Li Jiang, was on 8-fight or something like that winning streak, and, touted to fight Kamaru Usman, came back, got knocked out, and then he won. Now he's fighting Michel Pereira. Michel Pereira, against Tristan Connolly, as Oscar Silva mentioned, went a little bit too wild, gassed himself out. But I feel like that's a blessing in disguise for Pereira. I feel like that's a fight where it made him realize, I'm wasting so much energy on, unnecessary moves or unnecessary punches, and maybe conserving, your punches and your cardio is, obviously the way forward, and it's just working for him. He's in a co-main event slot against Ponzinibbio, a ranked fighter, and he won, and it was a fantastic performance. I feel like he earned the scorecard. He got his hand raised that night, and number 14, I think it's justified. I was happy when he got the ranked opponent. I definitely feel like he deserved it, and I feel like he's earned, as Oscar talked about, his evolution of his movement and his punches and his accuracies. He's always been there, but his evolution of his accuracy, his footwork, it's getting better at each fight, and we're really seeing it, and come to fruition. I'm really excited to see where Pereira goes. I feel like maybe a top 10 opponent in that welterweight division would be a fantastic matchup. He's awful, he's awkward, he's unorthodox, and I think it could be definitely a difficult matchup for anyone in that top 10. But yeah, Michel Pereira is a fantastic, entertaining fighter, and I think they did get the bonus that night, if I'm correct. So. And I know Oscar would be here to correct me if I was wrong, but I'm not sure. Did Ponzinibbio and Pereira get the bonus?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and they obviously deserved it.
100%. And then moving on to Chidri Carney, who we talked about maybe a few weeks ago because his brother was fighting in Eagle FC, but now we get to talk about him. And he put on another show once again.
Yeah, he was losing this first round pretty clearly. getting out grappled. I don't know why he went for that anaconda early. Um, I feel like he probably should have taken that opportunity to stand up, but in the end, it worked out for him. Todorovic is super hittable. I thought he'd get knocked out in the first round, and he did. His head is just always not where it should be, you know? Even when they're striking at distance, it's always there to be hit. And this time, he hit him with that elbow in the clinch and put him right out. Very violent KO for Chidi, and really fun. He's a really fun fighter, man. In Bellator, he struggled a little bit, but I think he's a better fighter than he used to be. And now he's putting together really impressive KOs. I think the next fight should be Ian Heinisch.
Yeah, that's a fantastic matchup, and I do agree. And as you talked about Chijin and Carney, struggled with the grappling a bit, and over in Bellator as well, he struggled over there, and he lost against John Salter, where he just got grappled and he got submitted eventually. As you talked about, Duska Todorovic looked to tend to go that way, but he got up, and if I'm correct as well, Chijin and Carney appeared in Sports Center top 10 in number 10.
I don't follow Sports Center, but it was definitely worthy of it.
I believe I might have seen that somewhere. I think he appeared at number 10 at Sports Center, so top 10 moments of the week at ESPN or something like that. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was a fantastic knockout elbow over the top, and that's 2 fights, 2 knockouts, and it just shows, he's got hands, he's got the skills, and Ian Heinisch, I think that's a perfect matchup, a dangerous matchup.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to love on the cheating Joku on his side. I think he could find himself in the top 15, top 10 soon enough. Next fight was Pollyanna Vianna versus Tabitha Ricci. My goodness, this was a boring fight. Vianna just did not want to engage. I don't know what she was thinking. Laying on her back. She was not. How on earth? Have you ever seen somebody win a fight laying on their back, waiting somebody to come into the guard? Never. So for Vianna to do that 3 times in this fight, losing every round that way was just disappointing because she was actually win on the feet with her size advantage. But nonetheless, Ricci fought smarter. She earned the fight. When she got on top, she was so good defensively, man. These are 2 black belts. So it's unlikely that we would see a submission, and that's what I thought would happen. Ricci would be the one on top. Vianna would be happy to attempt submissions, and she wouldn't get any of them. That's what happened. Ricci won how I thought she would.
Exactly, and there's not, as you talked about, a very boring fight, not too much really to talk about. So it was a win for Ricci, another win, moving on up the ladder, and I feel like we should swiftly move on to the first fight of the evening, which is Eric Anders versus Junior Park.
Another controversial decision. This one, I did score for Park. I was like, the whole week, this whole past week, people have just been crying Robert, and I'm just that sole guy that's saying, hey, maybe you should rewatch the fight. Maybe you should look at what the other guy did. Maybe you're just being a fan of the other fighter. In the first round, Eric Anders was only looking to get control time. Eric Anders can either be a really fun guy that knocks people out, or he can be involved in fights like he was in the rematch with who was it? Darren Stewart, where he'll just look to get control time, not be all that aggressive, be very low output, and that was the case here. That first round, I think Park was the guy, just being a little busier with his striking, and also I'm not really going to give Anders credit for that control time up against the cage because the guy did nothing, absolutely nothing. And the second round was definitely an Anders round. Anders got in a groove. He's looking better than I've seen him look in a while. And I thought Park was looking a bit concerned in that second round because Anders was getting in his groove. But the third round, Anders was slowing down significantly. Park was landing the much more damaging strikes. And once again, Anders, he did have some control time that third round, doing nothing with it. So that's why he lost this fight to Park. Park is a guy that will be a staple of this division for years to come. I heard somebody say that he's going to be like Brad Tavares in the future. I agree. This guy's so serviceable everywhere. But I will say he did have an off night. Not the funnest fight to watch either.
Yeah, if you look at his record, if you look on it, didn't he get a draw against oh, is that was it who did he draw against?
I don't think he got a draw in the UFC.
Am I wrong, or did he beat? Was it what's his name? Sam Alvey. Was it Sam Alvey?
No, that you're talking about Da Jung.
Oh, there we go. So I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to Jung and Junior Park. Yeah, but yeah, Junior Park, as you talked about, fantastic fight, and Eric Anders doing well as well. Definitely some improvements that he shown in his game. But yeah, definitely a good fight on the main card. But yeah, and I mean the prelims were stacked, and there was a lot of knockouts, a lot of finishes, and then we ended it with finishes. Well, with Joseph Holmes, who appeared on the show, and he said he was going to get a finish. He told me he was going to get a finish, and he knocked him down and got the rear naked choke against Alan Amedovski. I mean, this was the performance we were looking for in his debut, and we finally got it now. And I feel like this really showed his potential, his talent, and how good he is over there. With the coaches that he has over there, James Krause, and I forgot his other coach. I'm sorry, Joseph Holmes. It slipped my mind.
Yeah, Joseph Holmes did what he should in this fight. Alan is not UFC caliber. Has never won in the UFC. He got knocked out by John Phillips. And I think Joseph Holmes had all the talent to put him away. And he did. He landed a picture-perfect knee. And Herb Dean, for whatever reason, didn't stop it. And Holmes had to slap on that rear naked choke. And Allen could not defend it properly. The guy was barely there. And he taps out. Very impressed by Holmes. Took 0 damage really in this fight. And it's on to the next one for him.
Yeah, and Holmes as well probably got one of the best mustaches in the game. It's fantastic mustache. So congratulations for that as well. Moving on to the next one. I mean, the prelims are, we'll probably go quite through quickly because there was a lot of finishes, a lot of early finishes as well. So this is another one, Jailton Almeida. I know a guy that you're very, very, very high on.
Yeah,
I mean, he showed it once again how good he is.
I've been high on this guy forever, man. I think this guy will probably be a top 5 guy eventually. That's just how highly I think of him. He's one of the best grapplers in the whole UFC. He's shown it many times. He fought Danilo Marquez, who competed actively in black belt competitions. He fought Nasruddin Nasruddinov, who was a 7-0 Russian wrestler. He outgrappled him. And he fought Parker Porter, who's got a 40-pound weight advantage on him. He goes out there, takes him down, absolutely wrecks him. He did the exact thing I thought he would do. When I tell you, I called this fight to the T. That's what I did. He took him down, got him full mount, landed big ground and pound. Parker was sick of taking the ground pound shots. He gave up his back. Boom, rear naked choke. That was my exact call. A rear naked choke after Ricci's ground and pound. Almeida is a force to be reckoned with. I think the guy could be ranked if he fought at heavyweight, honestly. We could maybe even see like a double champ eventually if this guy improves the striking, his cardio.
I've got to agree, and
a problem for everybody.
I've got to agree. And he, after this fight or before the fight, I think he expressed his interests of maybe staying at heavyweight, and he says there's an easier way to the title at heavyweight anyway. So
that is true. But I do think an interesting fight for him would be Khalil Roundtree. I think he would be like a minus 300 in that fight. But here's the thing: Khalil has some of the nastiest power in the whole division, and if he touches that chin on Jailton, things could go south for Jailton. So that's why I want to see that fight. We have not seen Jailton fight a world-class striker like Khalil.
I mean, look at them strikes. Look at the stats of Parker Porter. Not even one strike thrown. Not even one strike landed. You didn't give him any chance. And yeah, Jailton Almeida. If you're not on the train, definitely get on it. It's a fantastic train to get on, and he's a fantastic fighter. And as you talked about, definitely has high potential. Moving on to Uso Medic, another one that probably has high potential in the featherweight, in the lightweight division.
Yeah, I wrote off Uros like ever since he came into the UFC. I picked him to lose to Elon Cruz. He wrecked Elon Cruz. Then he fought Jalen Turner. My goodness, Jalen Turner now has a fight booked with Brad Riddell. And I'm seeing some people picking him to beat Brad. Brad is in the top 15. So when he was booked to fight Omar Morales, I thought it would be a similar thing as to what happened when he fought Jalen Turner. But Omar, I don't know, man. He's gotten a little older these days. He was coming off a loss. He's gone back and forth in divisions. I just feel like Omar's not a very trustworthy guy, and I trusted him a lot. I said the guy was pretty much a lock to win, and boy, I was wrong. That first round, very competitive until it wasn't. Uros hurt him bad at the end of the round. Uros had an obvious power advantage, which I had not seen that power used against like a guy the level of Omar Morales. But here's one thing I ignored as well. Uros Medic trains at King's MMA. Who trains at King's MMA? Giga Chikadze. Giga Chikadze beat Omar pillar to post for 3 rounds. So I'm sure Giga gave Uros some advice, and he put that advice to good use. And then he knocked out Omar Morales in that second round in vicious fashion. He hurt him like 3 times very bad. I know Omar broke his fall, but I thought the ref just saved them for further punishment, honestly. Big John even thought it was an early stoppage. I don't agree because Omar just took big shots that I don't think he was going to take a 4th one.
Yeah, I've got to agree. It was a fantastic performance, and definitely, I remember us going back and forth actually with Alan Cruz versus Jonas Medic, and you believe Cruz was going to win that fight, and Medic got it done. But, I mean, stylistically, if you look at how big Cruz was, if he could use his frame, to his full potential, I feel like he's definitely got the definitely got that the physical whereabouts of him to be able to become a good fighter. I think he fought not too long ago on the regional scene. But Uso Medic is showing, he has got power in them hands once again. And definitely a fantastic performance. Another knockout inside the UFC. And we'll swiftly move on to the other prelim. Jonathan Martinez getting the win against Vince Morales, 30-27. I mean, is there too much to talk about this?
Yeah, this was exactly what Martinez needs to do. Martinez trains at the same camp as the guy that finished Vince Morales with leg kicks, Chris Gutierrez. Gutierrez wrecked Morales when he fought him. So for Martinez and Gutierrez to be preparing together for that fight, I knew it was going to be an asset for Martinez. And Vince just did not fight smart in this fight. He just fought at distance, which is the last thing you want to do against Martinez. If you want to be Martinez, you have to get in a pocket. You have to throw huge bombs. And once Vince did do that, none of them landed. So Martinez looked fantastic after easy 30-27 win for Martinez. That's basically the story. It was those leg kicks wrecking Vince.
100%, I do agree. It was a good performance. You talked about the liver kicks, and then we'll move on to probably the most impressive performance maybe on the card, and that was Chase Hooper, 22 years old, putting on a performance like that. I think what impressed me the most is his striking is somewhat getting there. It's getting better. We're seeing it. Evolve a little bit, and then obviously the grappling. We know how good his grappling is, and getting that TKO, the ground and pound finish. I feel like this is probably the best performance we've seen from Chase Hooper inside the UFC today.
I agree with you there. Chase Hooper. This is another guy like Usman that I wrote off. The guy, I kind of didn't give him the acknowledgement of his room to improve that I needed to. The guy has never looked better. He fought a guy in Felipe Calarge, who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. His striking is not bad at all. And on the feet, I thought Hooper had more moments than Calarge, which was a huge shock to me. Hooper would just go forward and land 1-2s, and they would tag Calarge because Calarge was so concerned about Hooper getting him to the ground. And once he got him to the ground, Hooper was so slick down there, constantly threatening submissions and using his long body to his advantage. Calarge is a shorter guy. He was actually a guy who's a bandweight. He was going up a division for this one. And Hooper really made it appear that he was like the bigger guy in this fight. And the second round was very competitive. I did give it to Calarge. He did get more control time. There was like no real on either side. It was a very exciting fight. All the scrambles, but eventually it was at a pace that Klarsh could not sustain. And in that third round, he got stuck on bottom. And Hooper fought had like a similar performance like he did on the Contender Series, where he was just landing vicious ground and pound. But the difference was his cardio's gotten better, so he had more energy to finish the fight, and it got waved off. And Hooper has never looked better. I'm so impressed with this guy. I think he will be in the UFC for a long time after this one. I thought he was done in the UFC, but after this, I would be happy to see him hang out longer.
Yeah, and after the fight, he said he wants that the Sean O'Malley type matchup, and that's where are you intoxicated? Probably hinting there. I think it's a smart route for the UFC, and definitely for Hooper if he stays in there, get some wins on the road and pick up some a streak. He can find himself up there. But yes, he's 22 years old. I feel like the UFC have got to kind of not mature him, but move him slowly up the ranks. He's got a long way to go. And then the first fight of the evening, Sam Hughes against Ellis Reed. I mean, I thought Sam Hughes was going to lose this fight.
I did not. I thought this fight was a pick-em fight. And when I saw that Sam Hughes was an underdog, there was no way you could talk me off of her. Sam Hughes has improved significantly since she moved down to Fortis MMA. And now she's fighting girls that are, a lot more limited than her first couple fights. She fought Loma Lukbumi and Tisha Torres, and she lost those two fights, but those were much better fighters than Ellis Reed and who else was it? Estela Nunes. So in this fight, I knew she would have a grappling advantage. But Reed just looked awful on the ground. My goodness. She looked much better against McKenna. But here's the honest truth. McKenna might be a worse wrestler than Hughes, which I just didn't know. Hughes got on the ground when she wanted to, and she really wore out slowly. And come the third round, Reed was ready to quit. She was tired beyond belief. And Hughes started landing nasty ground and pound, and she got a finish, which came to huge surprise for me. I thought this would definitely go the distance on either side, but Hughes got an impressive finish here after a very, very dominant performance. Hughes, I thought, was on her way out of the UFC heading into the Nunes fight, which was like a month ago, and now she's on a 2-fight win streak. And you know what would be very interesting on this card? I would like to see Hughes fight Tabitha Ricci now.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And if you think about a few months ago for Sam Hughes, she was on a 3-fight losing streak, and then she's fought back-to-back months, and now she's on a 2-fight winning streak. So, it shows, as you talked about, the momentum, the move to Fortis. She's looking good. And, yeah, I did think Reed was going to win this one, but Sam Hughes proved me wrong. Maybe, after I believe in her a little bit more.
Oh, yeah. I think Hughes, with the proper coaching now, fights better game plans probably. And, of course, she's nowhere near ready for, like, top 20 level competition. But against the Reeds of the world, she's going to thrive.
Yeah, that pretty much we talked about there at Holm versus Vianna. That pretty much wraps up that card. I can't think off the top of my head that what else we got to really talk about. 2 recaps on this episode. Not very interesting that episode, but we're bringing one back into the viewers.
Well, we can touch on the main event on June 4th if you would like to.
Yeah, 100%. Let me bring it up. June.
The main event of UFC Vegas 56 is Alexander Draga Volkov versus Jairzinho Biggie Boy Rosenstrike. That is a fun heavyweight clash. Sure, it could be a time where we see Jairzinho be the low output guy, the guy that's not ready to pull the trigger, but we're going to watch to find out, because if this guy lets his hands go, the damage he can do to anybody on the roster is immense. When he fought Francis Ngannou, the reason Francis Ngannou threw the worst technique hooks you've ever seen in your life was because he tagged Francis behind the ear. Francis thought it was like now or never. That's how scary Jairzinho is. I think Jairzinho is the guy that will stick around forever in the UFC, pretty much as long as he wants, because I think he has a style that will threaten guys even when he's like 40. He just has that kind of power, and the power's the last thing to go. So Jairzinho, I know he's not been looking great. In his last fight, he fought Curtis Blades. He just he got out wrestled there. That was plain and simple. But he did land a vicious flying knee that really destroyed Curtis Blades' face. But the wrestling will not be a factor in this fight because he's fighting Volkov, who's a kickboxer. So I'm very interested to see if Volkov will be able to avoid the KO threat from Rosenstrike for 25 minutes, and maybe we can see Volkov get a finish himself. So I'm very interested here in this fight. Volkov looked pretty flat against Aspinall. This is a fight where the loser will be seen as the guy on the decline, and the winner will be seen as the guy that's like on a comeback run, you know.
Yeah, 100%, I do agree. And as you talked about Volkov, you know, not really the grappling type of guy, but I might, you know, be able to, you know, if I was Volkov, I'm probably thinking about grappling this fight because, you know, Jairzinho Rosenstrike, as you talked about, you probably don't want to stand with him for longer than a minute because, as you talked about, he hits like an absolute truck.
Yeah, very intriguing fight at heavyweight. ESPN has not updated their website to show the rest of the card, but one interesting fight on there is Aaron Blanchfield versus JJ Aldrich. Would you want to guess the odds on that one?
I want to say maybe Aaron Blanchfield is probably the favorite.
But how big of a favorite?
I'd say probably about 200, 300.
She's in minus 450.
Wow.
Yeah, that lets you know the hype that's on Aaron Blanchfield. And I'm right there, man. Aaron Blanchfield dominated Miranda Maverick. I thought Miranda would win when she fought her, and she dominated. So, very interesting card on June 4th. Unfortunately, there are no UFC fights this Saturday. So, do whatever you want with your free time. It is Memorial Day weekend here in the United States. It's where we remember those that are not with us that served in the service.
100% RIP to them, and thank you for, you know, their service over there in America, doing you know, God's work over there. So yeah, it's been a fantastic episode where we get a recap UFC Vegas 54, 55, and we talked about Tough as well, and then obviously we talked up about, you know, Volkov versus Rosenstrike, but we'll save a full episode for that to talk about, where we'll talk about it next week on Tuesday, same time, 6 p.m. British Standard Time, British Summer Time, sorry, and then obviously in America, I say this every week, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it's a noon Central Time.
There we go. Noon Central Time Eastern. Over in 1 p.m. Eastern. So there, make sure you tune in. Make sure you tune in on all the the audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, over there as well. And obviously, make sure you tune over on YouTube. You get to see our faces when we talk about see how hyped up we get. And then next week we get to talk about Rosenstrike versus Volkov. Just a preview, and then we get to the week after that. I believe it might be a big card.
Yeah, UFC 275 in Singapore. That is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, Glover Teixeira versus Yuri Prochaska. So that's going to be a fantastic episode to talk about. Also, we have Valentina Shevchenko versus Talia Santos and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Wow.
Versus Sean Grayley, the rematch of the century.
Exactly, 100%. So make sure you tune in for that episode, but that's in 2 weeks. But next week, we're going to talk about Volkan versus Rosenstrike. And make sure you all tune in for that one next week. Make sure you have a good weekend. And we talk to you next week with a fantastic episode. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you later.